Wix is an increasingly popular drag and drop website builder that lets you create clean, simple websites quickly. With Wix ADI, you can answer a few questions and let Wix generate the site for you. But it also touts over 500 stunning templates and design freedom with the Wix Editor, mobile optimized layouts, and tons of content types and more. So, how do you make a website with Wix? In this video, we're going to answer that very question and make the website you see on the screen here from scratch. We'll show you how to go from nothing to creating this very website with various customizations, a working contact form, and make the whole site live on the net with its very own unique domain name. The first thing Wix is going to ask you once you sign up for an account is what kind of website you want to create. You'll then be shown different categories of websites that you can create with Wix. Since we're going to be creating a website for our coaching business, we're going to choose business. Then Wix is going to ask us how we want to create our site using Wix ADI, which is a simple questionnaire that automatically takes our answers and generates a website for us. This takes minutes. We could also create our website with the Wix Editor, so we can choose a template and then make customizations to it, dragging and dropping design features and adding our content. That's what we're going to choose. So let's go ahead and click Choose a Template. And then Wix is going to take us to an area where we can choose from hundreds of different website templates. I recommend you take some time and look through them to see what you like best. I am going to go with the Success Coach template. If you want to preview the website before you choose that template, you can click View, and it will show you the entire site. And if you like what you see, you can click Edit this site. Then Wix will take that template and move it into your website. Once we're in the Wix editor, you'll notice a few things. There's a bar across the top, there's our header area, there are different icons across the left to help us edit our site, and then there's this other layer or editing pane, which will activate based on the different module or design element we choose. So the first thing we're going to do is change the heading. We're going to change the name Alan Johnson to Joe Casabona. And then we're going to change the title. My title is Podcast Consultant and Educator. We also have a menu over here, and this menu is generated based on the pages that we created in Wix or the pages that Wix has created for us. So in the menus and pages icon here on the left, we'll click that, and then we can reorder or delete pages we're not going to use. That will be services, more about me, feed, motivational reading, and blog. Once we do that, we are left with 3 navigation items, and they all happen to be linked on the homepage. And we can tell that because the icon next to it is an anchor icon as opposed to a page icon, which would be if we had a separate page. So great, we can manage our entire site right in this single editor. Let's go ahead and close that out. And then we'll customize our main hero or impact area. This module is called a strip. So first, let's change the text. We'll change this to "You have a story." And then let's bold that text a little bit and make it stand out some more. When we select text, the text settings will automatically show up on the right-hand side. So we can do things like change the type of text, the font, the size, and so much more. Here, we're just going to bold the text to make it stand out a little bit. And maybe we'll bump up the size just slightly. But we can also do things like change the alignment, create a bulleted list, add some effects, and change the character and line spacing if we want to. Now we'll change the big text. So the first line is "You have a story." The next line will be "Tell it," period. And here, these letters are a little bit spaced out. So let's change the character spacing a little bit to make them fit a little closer together. So we want to highlight this text, and then we'll drag the slider. We could see the letters getting closer together. And let's go as low as we can. That's negative 0.1. Now that we have our copy in place, let's change this background image. So we're going to click Change Strip Background, which shows up if we're just selected in a non-text area of the strip. And we can click Image, and then the image modal will pop up. And we can choose from a few different options here. We can upload images directly to the site files, or we can explore media from Wix, Shutterstock, or Unsplash. Some of this media might have an upcharge. I'm going to choose Unsplash because all of the images are free and royalty free. So I'm going to search for sunrise. We are creating a website where we want people to tell their story, and that could mean a new horizon for them. So I searched sunrise. I like this image here. I'm going to go ahead and click on it and then click change the background. Now, once the background image is loaded, we can see that it is obscuring the text a little bit. The image and the text are competing for the attention of the user. So I'm going to click settings, and then I could add a color behind the image, and I can change the image opacity. So I'm going to set the color behind the image to white, and it's going to be 100%, so it's not going to be transparent at all. And then I'm going to drop the image opacity down to, let's say, 60, 65. 60 looks pretty good. Now the text stands out, but the image still is attention grabbing. So with that, let's move on to the next section. We are going to change this text to make it specific to me. I'm making the website, so I'll keep the about me, but I will click this paragraph text. I'll make sure it's all highlighted, and then I'll add my own bio. All right, so with my bio in place, let's get rid of this read more button because there's not more to read. So to delete an area or delete a module, we can just click it and then press the delete button. And then here we are going to change this picture to me. So I'll click change column background and then go to image. And here I'm going to want to upload media because presumably there's no picture of me on Unsplash. So we'll click upload media. We'll do from the computer, and we'll choose my professional headshot. Once that gets uploaded, we could choose to crop or edit, cut out the background and more. We can also create a video out of it, but we're just going to change the background. And you could see that it's not looking as good. I'm not really front and center here. So now we're going to change the settings to make sure that I am positioned properly. So first we have scale to fit, then we can choose the position. And as we click, we can see the image change in real time. If I choose center right, you can see my face perfectly in this view window. So great, we have our about section all set up. Now let's go ahead and manage the next section. So this was the how can I help you section. Its area was driven by the services page, which is an upcharge. So we're going to go a different route. So we're going to replace that with just a plain text box area. We're going to change this heading first. So let's reinforce our story arc here and say, let's tell your story. And then I think I want story to be on its own line. So I'll just drag this box and make it a little bit wider. So now with our new headline, we're also going to add some content here. But first, let's change the background. We're going to go with a few more muted colors. We want the content to really stand out. So instead of this blue background, we're going to change this to gray. So I'm going to click change page background, and then I'm going to click settings. Here I'm going to drop the image opacity down to about 43%. 43 works. And then I'm going to choose a gray color. And so we're getting slightly muted colors here. We can see the colors that we're picking kind of changes the page in real time. And I'm going to go with this middle of the road gray. So with that, let's click out of this. And now let's add our new section. So I'm going to click add. And then I'm going to click box. So I want this to be just a simple box. So I'm going to grab the kind of lighter one looking here. I'm going to drag it onto the page, and I'm going to center it in this section just below our heading. So we can see our guideline here. This is now centered. We are going to increase the width a little bit, make it line up and be even across the whole section. And then we're going to add some text. So I'll go again to the add menu to text, and I'm going to click add text. We'll choose a paragraph. Well, let's choose a heading first. So I'll choose a heading. I'll drag it into the box. And we're going to call this Done For You Podcasting. We'll increase the width so it's one line, and we'll center it inside of our box. Maybe we'll drop it a little bit lower to give it a little bit more distance between the edge. And then we'll add our copy. So that's going to be a paragraph. Drag it here. We'll make it a little bit wider than our headline. And then we'll add our text. All right, so this is looking just okay. Let's decrease the size, the width a little bit. We'll bring everything in a little bit more. So that includes the headline. We'll bring it in a little bit more. We want to grab this line up here, make sure everything lines up. And we'll move this up a little bit. And then we want to center everything. So let's start with the headline. We're going to make sure that this is center aligned here. We'll do the same thing for the paragraph text. We'll center align it. And we want it to stand out. So let's increase the size a little bit more. And this is where extending the width of our paragraph text is going to come in handy. So great, we'll do like that. And then we will center this inside the box completely. And then we'll decrease the height of the box because we don't need that much height now. And the last thing we'll do with the box, we'll make sure the box is selected. We'll click change design. And then we'll click customize design. And here we can choose the fill color and opacity. I'm just going to drop the opacity down to about 60 or 65%. Again, we want the copy to stand out, but we want to make sure the box stands out as well. And the last thing we'll do, and part of the reason that we want the more muted colors, is we're going to add a button. That's going to be a call to action for people to start their podcast. So let's go ahead and click button. And then we'll just grab the first button here because we are going to customize it. We'll drop it on the page, and then we'll make sure it's centered underneath the box. We'll make it a little bit bigger because this is the big call to action here. We'll change the text. We would like it to say, start your podcast. And then we will link it to the contact form. So we're going to choose Anchor, and then we want it to be this page to the contact form. We can also choose web address, which is an external site, a page inside our Wix site, or a whole bunch of other things. So we have a lot of flexibility in this area. We'll click done, and then let's customize the design of our button. We can do that by clicking on the design icon, which looks like a paintbrush. And then the customize design button again. So the first thing we want to do is change the background color. I like a dark yellow. I think that that really stands out. So we're going to choose that, which is, again, another reason that we wanted to change from the blue background. We didn't want the blue background competing with the yellow button. And then we'll change the hover state as well. We'll change that to the yellow, but we'll make it a lighter shade of yellow. That way the user knows that they've hovered over it. We want to get rid of the border here. So we just want the button to be yellow. And then we'll modify the text. The text color looks good. Let's make sure we make the same changes for hovering as well. We'll get rid of the border. We'll keep the corners. We won't have a shadow. And then this is where we can really customize the text color. So we want to make sure that the regular tab is selected so we see more options. We want the text to be a little bit bigger. We'll make it bold. And we'll change the color to black. There we go. And let's see if Avenir, yeah, let's use regular Avenir instead of Avenir Light. That way the text really stands out. Great. So now we'll make sure this is centered under everything here. Perfect. So this section is a little bit too long, and that's because we have one more thing that we need to delete, and that's the More Services button. So we should be able to now make this a normal height. And we can do that by dragging, we'll have to drag both the anchor up as well as the footer. We'll still want to give this section some space, so this is a good height. And then we'll drag the page height up to the anchor. All right, so now we've got a nice tight page here, so we can change the footer design. Let's make it a gray, a dark gray color. So we'll click Fill Color. We'll choose the background color. We'll grab one of the darker colors down here. If we don't find the exact color we want to use, we can also click the Add button and find that gray that we like using the color picker. I want a gray that's very close to black. So this looks good. So we'll add this. When we do that, the color gets added to our colors section, which is good because we also want the center background to match. So we'll do that too. So our fill colors are changed, but now we need to make sure we change all of the text colors. So let's start here at the top, and we'll just go through and we'll change everything that's black to white. So with our text change, the last two things that we want to change are the form design. We want it to kind of match the aesthetic of the rest of the site, and the social media icons. So let's click social bar, and we could set social links here. There are two things that we can do for each social link. We can change the icon, and the nice thing about the Wix media is that we can choose to filter by social icons and then specifically the social network we're looking for. So I'm going to choose Facebook. Facebook has two white icons. I'll choose the circle one. And then we would also want to make sure that our social link goes to the right place. So we could do that by choosing the web address and then changing the link. And we'll want to do this for all of the social icons. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and once our social icons are changed, we'll click done. And now we have icons that better match the footer. And then we'll go through the form settings and we'll change the design of that. So we'll select the form, we'll click design, and then we'll customize design. And here we can choose and mask the color of all of the fields. So we'll choose fill color and opacity. We're going to make the background white for each field. We can keep the border the same. We can keep the corners the same, but we do want to change the text. So the field title color will also be white. And then the required will be red, and we'll pick the red that's already down here. So we want to make sure that we're indicating required fields to our users. And there we go. Everything's looking good. Let's actually customize the submit button though. So we'll select this and we'll change the design. And Wix is smart enough now to grab the style of the buttons we already have so that they match. I'm going to click my button, but I don't want the text size to be as big. So we'll just reduce that size here. And that looks good. We'll drag this up a little bit. Perfect. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll change the success message so that people will be able to read it. And great. So we've customized all of the sections that have come with this template, but I feel like something's missing. So if we go to Let's Tell Your Story, yes, we have some copy here, but how can we really convince people to click, let's create a sample episode section? So I'm going to do that by clicking Add. And then there's the strip area here. So this is going to create just a brand new section on the page. So I'm just going to grab the simplest looking one here. And we need to make sure we drag this to the right spot because everything is going to get reordered. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to drag it down on the page underneath the button. Perfect. So now we can reduce the size of the strip so that it's not all up on top of the button. We'll drag the button down so that it's kind of evenly spaced in between the two sections. And then let's add our content. So first I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to change this to sample episode. We really want to make sure this stands out. So let's change the font. We want to match it to the rest of the site, which is using Avenir or Avener. We'll increase the size a little bit and we'll make it bold. I think that looks good. And we'll change the strip background. We want this to be a color complementary to the rest of the page. So we can click the light blue here because the light blue does kind of complement the yellow as long as they're not right on top of one another. So this looks good. And let's also change the opacity. So with the color selected, I'll go to settings. I'll drop the opacity down a little bit. Not quite that much. Just so we can still kind of see the background. And you know what? As we do this, this kind of looks more gray. So I'm going to choose a more traditional blue, maybe a brighter blue. You can do that with the color selector. That looks a lot better. And then we could drop the opacity. We'll drag that up a little bit. This looks okay, 65%. Perfect. So we want to do a sample episode, which means that we want to embed an audio player onto our page. And we can do that if we select music. We have a few different options for audio players. I'm going to grab the first one. I like the way that looks. So I'll drag that onto the page. I'll center it under the title. And then we can change the track. So we can use an external MP3. I'm going to drop in a link from my podcast, and then we can change the track details. So I'm going to call this How I Built It for the artist name, and the track name will be Freelance Advice. All right, the next thing we want to do is choose the image to go along with the player, and I am going to upload my podcast logo. And I will choose that. Perfect. And let's make this just a little bit longer so it kind of stretches the width of the box. And then we want the footer to be right up against that. So let's drag everything up again a little bit more. Great. Okay, and with that, we have our entire site. So we're going to click Publish. so that our site gets published. Then we could view it if we'd like to see what it looks like without all of the editor Chrome. So we have our main section. We have the About Me section. Let's tell your story, a sample episode, and then the footer. That's fantastic. Now, there's one more thing that we need to do if we want to launch our site with our own domain. And if we go back to the editor area, we can do that by upgrading our free Wix account to a paid one. So let's go ahead and click Upgrade Now. And we can do the personal use one. That's $13 a month. And it gives us a free domain for 1 year. So let's select that. If we buy it for the entire year, we can save some money. We'll save $48. So let's go ahead and do that. I will select the yearly plan. And then we'll put in our credit card information. So once we've paid, we have a free domain voucher, so we can register a free domain. I'm obviously going to want something with my name in it. Let's see if joecasabona.com is available. That's not, but the .net or the .org is. So let's just grab the .org. We'll register it for 1 year, and then we'll renew on an annual basis. Click Continue. Then we need to put our contact information in. We will not go for the upcharge of private registration, though generally I would recommend this because it does protect you against identity theft, and it'll especially prevent spam. But I'm going to go with the public registration for now. We'll click Continue. All right, and then once we put in our credit card information again, we will be able to go to our domains at the bottom here. And now our domain can be assigned to one of our sites. It automatically is when we go through this process. So once the domain propagates, we will have a brand new Wix site pointing to our brand new domain. So that's it for this video. In it, we built a full Wix site using a beautiful looking template. We customized it from top to bottom, and we even connected a domain to it. If you liked this video, be sure to click the thumbs up down below and subscribe to this channel for more great content.